Julio, how's it going? Okay, so I've made some changes to the file since last night, basically. I'll quickly walk through what I did. They're really kind of minute changes, but they're things that just make it look a little bit better in my mind. And I'm not caching it. I'm caching out stuff right now. So this was supposed to go on during the day, but it didn't because it kept crashing. And I had to deal with that. But it's going now, so I can't hear myself. So I'm hoping everyone else can hear me. I don't know how many people are in the stream, in the chat, or anything like that. It says this too. Okay. So to start out with is I changed my simulation to be running on a substep of 2 currently. I did have it at 4, but then that was just taking way too long, so I put it down to 2, and that just gives me if I go into my settings here, and if I turn off integer frame range, I can go to 25.5, and I'll then have like a subframe between. I can't go to 0.6 because then it just won't load anything, but I can go to 0.5 or 26 sort of thing. So it's like just integer values of like 0.5, and that's just how it went. So I've cached out the low res version. I've cached out the high res cache. I have cached out my volumes already, and all that's happening now is caching out the collision SDF here. I'll just run through what I did up here instead. So you've got the low res fracture. I didn't change anything to that. That's still basically the same, and I'm renaming it the same here. Still got the high res fracture that I had in that fracturing thing. Come on. By the way, if you can hear fans in the background, that's just my computer. I've mucked up the my fan settings. Don't know why. Anyway, this is the change here. Is I laid down a connectivity node so that I knew what was connected and what not, and I just named all the pieces. So I said piece after the number. So if I go under my pieces now, I now have under my primitives, because it's a primitive attribute, I now have piece 0 to piece whatever that number is there. And that's basically the same as doing the assemble sub and just setting it to name only sort of thing. I then cache that out to I took out the A section of that. So we should rename that. Took out the A because now if we take a look at it, I have 3 different types here. I've got the normal fracture, I've got the fracture A, fracture B, and fracture C. As you can see, fracture B is like 2 gig, and that's me adding some high visibility to it. And I will walk through doing that too, just so that you're not like left out or anything. Nope. But before I go into that completely, what I'm doing here is, I don't know how many people are in the chat again. How many people are watching? So I've still got that transform. That's still working as intended, sort of thing. And what I'm doing up here is I want to get the area of each of these small fractures. You can't see it. There we go. Each of these smaller fractures inside here, I'm calculating the area, and if I go down, what I'm doing is I'm using a measure stop, and I've just kept the default values. I've also assembled it the way I had it before, which I don't create the name attribute, don't connect the inside edges, and I'm transferring the name old, which is, if you remember, the original names of what the low res was, about here. So I rename it in here to name old, so that these match. And then what I do is I'm bringing in for every primitive, basically, I'm bringing in the area between them all, so that I know how big like each one is, and I'm transferring that to the primitive variable on here. So I get like a float value of just like how big each piece is in general. In my high-res fracture node, I've created a quick little HDA setting thing here, where if I go into my settings, I've just got a little folder which I've set to simple, so it has that little outline. I've got the name, which is just a string type, and I've got a version, which is an ordered menu, and I just changed that in here, so the token and label were basically the exact same, so I didn't need to change them at all. I just made them the same. And then what I do is I just copied the parameter and put it in here, so that when I activate it, you can see I'm having a high res fracture of A, and then that's going to be switching between A, B, and C here. I'm going to be using A and C, not B, because B is just like it took about 10 attempts to cache it out, I think. Basically, I was using the measure stop in it, and the measure stop absolutely hated it, which is why I'm using the measure up here instead. And I'm only using the measure here because I'm only going to be using it with the low res geometry anyway. So, to start out with, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how I did this setup. So bring it over to here and hit save. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a for each node for each name primitive. Activate that, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put down the max iterations down to about 100, because there's about 10,000 here, and I don't want to go over each of them. What I then want to do is I want to split so I've kept the groups on from my Voronoi fracture. I want to split the inside and the outside. So I want to have all this inside, and I want to just get rid of the outside. So what I do is I lay down a split node, and I say get the inside and invert that selection, like so. And so now, that's giving me the outside version here on this side. I'm going to lay down a merge, because I'm going to merge in everything I do on this side here. And what I want to do is I want to remesh this. So if we take a look at it, it's going to look absolutely horrible. But now I'm going to put this down to 0.05. Why is it? Oh, right. I want to go like that. And I'm just going to connect this up here so that we can actually see what's going on. And what it's doing is it's just remeshing it. So I think the value I ended up with was like that, 0.065. which is pretty good. So it gave me a decent fair amount of resolution in there, and that was just me just messing around with the values, just trying to figure out what the target size is. I think the highest high res was about 0.1 here, but that, as I said, took like 10 tries to cache out, and my memory's about, I've got 64 gigabyte of memory, and it absolutely destroyed it. It just filled all the way up quickly. So following along with that, what I now needed to do was, also when I remeshed it, I added the hard edges here so that it wouldn't like try and smooth over the edges as well, which is kind of silly. And I can just do everything because it's all just one hard edge, really. So I'm going to get back to here, and I'm going to load this down to 50. Try and get rid of, there we go. Just wanted to get rid of that piece up there. And if I merge these two together, and I'm mucking it up completely. Merge these two together, we're going to see that now it has a load of denser attributes here. What's next on the agenda is that I want to just displace the geometry, just noise it up a bit. So I would lay down a point lop. I would normally do this in a point wrangle, but I didn't want to, like, I've already done a few things in a point wrangle here and here and here sort of thing, and I want to make sure that I got it right. So what I want to do is I want to do a displace normal node. Before I hook that up, I want to calculate the normals of this, but I don't want to set the normals. So I'm going to add a normal node here. I'm going to set it in there to the second input. And I'm recreating how I did this step by step sort of thing. So you notice that like some of these have alternating steps, like there's a wrangle in here and there's bops in there, but I'm recreating how I did it, all the mistakes I made. So I turned it to points, and I set it to by face area, I believe. And then what I wanted to do is, so I wanted to go to the points. I wanted to import that point attribute. So I'm going to say it's the second input. Must be the end there, and the point numbers to the point number here. All that's it's not doing anything right now because it's just pushing it out. I mean, it's just getting the normals that it's going to be pushing along. Now what I want to do is, if I go down here and I just do single pass, let's get a better pass like that. Oh no, I want a different one where it has like an actual edge. There we go. This will work. Looks a little weird, but it will work. What I then did is I just did a turbulent noise, and I'm going to plug that into here and plug that into there. Okay, into the amount, and it just explodes. So then what I did was I put the frequency, the offset, the amplitude up. I also put the scale up as well, and I just messed around with these. So the amplitude I'm going to bring right down to about there, and the frequency I'm going to bump up quite a bit. That looks about right. So I'm going to put this about 20 on each side. I'm also going to put the scale down a little bit. I think in the other one I had it as sparse, but I'm not going to change that now. So I'm going to put this about 3, 4, 5, something like that. And it looks perfect, doesn't it? It's a masterpiece. So I'm also going to lower this to about 4 because I want a little bit more geometry to work with right now, just to show how I did this. And first things first is noising up is fine, but if it's like the edges are going to be unmatched, so I want to not do it on the edges. So what I could do is I could bring in this thing here, like so, and let me think here. I gotta think hard, because I'm trying to remember how I did this. I know the solution. I just gotta remember how I did this specific solution. So what I need to do is need to get a point cloud open. And what this does is, as I think I told you before, but it makes a, so this is going to be the third input. It makes a like a sphere that gets all the points around it, and then I want to do a PC filter, and I want to get the current. I want to get the color, and the color is going to come from. So I'm just going to make an attribute wrangle here, and I'm going to say, oh, that CD equals sets. That's just a full on one, just a full on white. Bring it over here, and I'm just going to plug this into the color. Nothing changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to promote the radius and the max points up a little bit, and I'm just going to play with them. So I'm going to bring this down to like 1 and bring this down really tiny. As you can see now, we're getting like a radius sort of thing. I'm going to make this even smaller, just so that it's easier to see. I'm going to put this to about 0.6 maybe, so that I have a bit of an edge. I'm just going to put this down to 1, or just the 1 works perfectly. And then what I want to do is I want to say everything that's in black has the noise applied to it, everything in white has no noise applied to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say get a vector to float, because it does sometimes muck up here. Get the vector to float like that. I want to then, how long is that going? It's halfway through. Halfway, and then I can get into the volumes. I'm ready for it. Where was I? Yep, I want to do a mix node, and if you have come from, say, a Vex language sort of thing, then mix is called lerp there, which is I think linear interpolation, and I want to mix it between the displacement and my. So I'm going to bring these down. I'm going to bring this up. I think that's how I had it last time. It's kind of hard to organize. That's why I like Vex quite a bit, because you can do it in this, it's very ordered, and I'm just going to go like that. As you can see, it's not quite there. I could theoretically switch these around, but I don't want to. I'm just going to invert that value by doing fit range, and so that I can visualize it as well. Put it there, and did I have it wrong? I must have had it wrong. Yeah, there we go. No, that's correct. My bad. So it is technically working. You're getting a few weird issues here, like this stretching sort of thing, and that comes down to just the points in general, and the fact that there's actually no points here. So to fix that, what I did do was I tried remeshing this, and that worked for a bit, but then I found an easy method. So I'm going to show you that method now. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to take the second input. No, actually I'm not. I'm going to take this input here instead, and I just want to convert all this into a line. So I'm going to say convert line, and that converts it all into a line. I'm going to resample this, so I get as many points as I want along those edges. Maybe a bit more. What did I set the other one to? 0.02. That makes more sense. That's even smaller. So I get like a nice dense amount of points. And now when I do that, what you're seeing here now is you're seeing the noise is also not affecting anything on the edges, which does help, in my mind at least, helps it a little bit as well. You can afford not to do that, so if I just went to like here, then it would still just do it, but then you might get some interpenetrating issues with like other geometry, and it might look a little bit weird, but for now this works fine. One thing I do want to have is I want to have more of a fall off, and I'm not getting that here, and I can't actually get it here with what the way I'm doing it here now. Normally what I would do is I would increase the number of points, but that's not just not going to work. So, and I'm just going to take a leaf that I would have done here, as you can see. So I was just quickly checking to see what I did. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down another attribute wrangle, and I'm going to plug in this remesh, this normal, and this null, and this attribute wrangle here. I'm going to call this something. I'm going to call it set color. And what I want to do is I want to transfer the color over, but I want to transfer it over so like there's more of it, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't. So first of all, I want to do though is I want to transfer over the normal as well, because I just want to transfer this over in just one node, like so. Yeah, that's how I do it. So what I'm going to do inside here is I'm going to say at n equals, and I can just call it n because I'm still going to be using n here. At n equals point for the second input, the n attributes, and for each point number. Cool. So now I'm setting the n attribute. If you didn't notice, it kind of did that a little bit, so there's a bit smoother on the top there, which is not something I really wanted to do. I can't seem to help that. Okay. So then what I want to do is I want to transfer the color over. And the way I do that is I make a new point cloud. So int PC is PC open for the second input, because that's where it's come from, the third input from over here. I need the P attribute, the current point number, the channel of the radius, and the channel for the max points. And the max points don't really matter in this regard here. They will regard in this one, not here. So I've only just set it to 1 in this one. So I'm just going to activate that. I'm just going to put 1 for now. And then I'm going to say, I think, because I did actually do a fit range over here as well, which probably isn't needed. But anyway, I'm going to make a vector called C, which is going to be the PC filter. I'm going to filter my point cloud, and I want to get the current color. And then I'm just going to add that color to C. So now we get that. I'm going to increase this. So get something similar to like that. I'm not too sure why I'm not getting anything on the edges. Oh, that's right, because I changed it, didn't I? So if I go like that, then we get them all round. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to make it fairly large, because I'm going to be blurring it later on. And the reason I'm not using like a smooth node is because I'm going to be doing this all in Vex, and I don't like to do it with the smooth node. Plus, I won't be able to compile it afterwards, and it will just crash it like the measure did. The measure node is a time dependent node apparently. I didn't know that, and it basically, that's why it crashed. Even though it says no here, it still crashed. It's quite annoying. Anyway, so now we've mucked up a few things in the point wrangle, so I'm going to go back into there. The file wants to be the second input for there, and we're done. That was basically it. That's just how I made a high-res version of that. I do need to fix some of these issues here. Oh, that's right. I wanted to just blur this a bit, and I'll just show that quickly, how the blurring works. So if I just started blurring, if I just crank that up, I'm going to crank this down as well, about 0.6. I'm going to crank this down to about 0.3 maybe, so that I have a little bit less, and that's just giving it a lovely little blur. Instead of being harsh, I now get a bit of a blur, so I'm going to do about 50 iterations of that. So I get a nice, it's got a nice ramp, fall off and everything. I'm going to disable viewing that. even though it doesn't look like it's working, it's a little weird. It should be working. It's not quite working. So I'm going to go 0.6, 0.1. Let's make that make that 20 so it doesn't smooth over as much. To also like to fix any like still issues there, I can do a second point cloud and bring in that one over here as well, like I did before. So I can go like so. I don't even need this fit range anymore, but I can use a add, and I'm going to use a clamp as well because I just want to clamp between 0 and 1. This one is going to get it from the third input. Hope that was the right one. It was not. So I want this one to go to the third input, and this one to go to the second input. Then this, because they're the same now, remove those two, and that's basically destroyed that. Great. So I'm going to just rename this, so this is going to be radius A, max points A, copy that, B, radius B, like that. And before I do anything, I'm just going to turn off radius A, I'm just going to turn off radius B, sorry, and I want to get radius A. Radius A is what's being blurred. So I'm going to blur that at 30. Radius B. And I'm just going to say I just want you to be at the very edge. Sort of thing. So I'm just going to put this back to point 3 like that. And that way now it has a slight semblance of a blur to it. That doesn't exactly affect this entire thing. So now it's meshing up quite nicely along the edges, and I'm going to dive inside here and I'm going to change this to a sparse. Sparse, if you don't know, goes in and out, so it's -1 to 1. And I'm just going to mess with these values a little bit, so I'm going to bring the scale right down, say like that. And that's basically how I did, if I disable a colour, basically how I made doesn't look great, does it? Add a normal to that so we can see a bit of variation there. I'm not too fussed about normals though. Not right now. Does that make sense, what I did? Cool. And the last thing I did was I basically just threw in a compile node so that it was multi-threaded, and that's pretty much it. That's everything I did there. Oh, one thing I did do. Sorry, I forgot about this part. So I'm going to set this to, whoops, I don't want it to cook. I'm going to set this back to 50. So it's just going to cook along 50, sort of thing. And before I do that, because it is taking some time, I'm just going to put in the compile as well, so it's a little bit faster. Because I did forget to do one thing. There we go, it's a little bit faster. So also, if anybody has any questions, you know, just message them. But what I want to now do is, if I go to my geometry spreadsheet, we're going to see like the name old is missing. The pieces are pretty good. The name pieces are still there. That's pretty solid, sort of thing. But what I do want to do is I want to make sure that the names are all set properly. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use a detail node. So I'm going to lay down another attribute wrangle, and I'm going over the first input here, and I just want to go over this overall input. Then run it over the detail. And what I'm basically wanting to do, is if I quickly check, is I want to get the correct naming schemes. So first of all, I'm going to get the current name of the point of the current old name, which is sitting on the points. So to do that, I want to get I'm going to say string for name. It's going to be I'm going to actually call it in name, just so I know, just so I can distinguish what they are. I'm going to say point. It's going to be 1 for the second input. It's going to be name. And then I'm going to say 0 because I can just get it from any point that I want to, and I know it's just going to be point 0. So every single point should have that name, should have the name old on it. In name old, just so that I'm distinguishing, because the name is on the primitives and the old name is on the points. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for int of I equals 0, I is less than the pt num, num point number of points, like that, and then I plus, just to quickly check to make sure that's going correctly. Yes, that is. And then what I want to do is I want to set every single point attribute to have the same name. So I'm going to say set point attribute for the 0th input. The attribute I'm going to be calling is name old. The what is it? What's the second variable I need there? I've forgotten. So I'm just going to quickly Google that. I could just look over to the side, but just to show you that, you know, I still Google things. Where I have like an image floating around where I was doing some Python coding and I had about 200 tabs open at one point, sort of thing. So yeah, not great. Oh, it's the point number, so which is going to be I. Here's a coding tip though. If you're going to name like a for each node, do it as II, and this is for like long code. So like Python, C#, C++, sort of thing like that, because if you then do like a Control F and look for I in it, you're going to see like, oh, string has an I in it, which is why we use double I. So you do like double I, double J, stuff like that. The value is going to be in name old, and I want to set that. And now if we take a look, every single one now has that correct value. And if I just quickly put my flag over there, then we're going to see that each one has the same pillar. What? That's not exactly correct. So I guess they all have the same names. So I'm just going to quickly just bump this up to about 300 to make sure, because that is a little bit of a worry. I'm just going to hit escape and pass my flag over to there, so that's faster. Yep, okay, it's working, cool. Had a bit of a freak out there, so I'm glad it is actually just working. So I'm just going to put it down to about 100. Put down to 50. Make my life a bit easier. 40 works. Okay, so now what I need to do is I just need to make sure that my primitive attribute is working as well. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did here. So I'm going to copy all this I'm going to put this back up here, and this one's going to be in name. Now, I don't want to set a point attribute because this is now because I'm now, if I compiled that now, I would be making a new name attribute, I believe. No, I'm not, because I'm just setting name old. But what I do want to do is I want to set this to the prim attribute, so I'm going to say set prim attribute, but I'm going to say yes, you are the name, and if I want to check that here, I'm going to say hello. So yes, I am setting that. I'm going to say it's going to be my in name, like so. I want to get this from the primitive, so I'm just going to say prim, like that, and it's going to be the name. So now we're getting the right name as well. And I don't want to go over the number of points because that's not what we want. Because if we do that, then we are going to set it, but we're not going to set it efficiently. So I'm going to say num, or prim num, I believe it is. I think it's prim num. I'll just quickly check. It is num prim. Had them the wrong way around. So now they all have the correct name variables on the primitive and on the old, and that way when we do the simulation further down the track here, it won't muck up. Okay, and to show you what whoops, don't cook. To show you what that now looks like, so this is the old fracture, which I don't have any of that. You can still see like there's some glaring issues, but that's just because of the for one, it's hacked. That's just a normal issue, don't worry about that. But what I will do is I will explode it so I can see. And this is my old geometry as well. I also assembled it, so I packed it again, just so that when I bring it in, then I don't need to pack it, because it would actually take quite a while to pack. Okay, so I'm going to change this from A to C, which is my mid-res, and I hope it doesn't crash Houdini again. There we go. Check my wireframe out now. If I go inside here, we can see that I have a bit of, well, if I check the wireframe at least, that I have some noise in there, sort of thing. And if I really want to push it, I will, let's see, 479. Oh, that's so close to being finished. That's great. I will try my high res, just very quickly. And it does, like, my memory consumption just goes right up, as you can see. It's not from this. I hope it's not from this. Better not be from this. I was saving this as well as I was going, and this was simming from the saved file, but it should have been saving it from the memory cache. So hopefully it didn't change anything that I was doing for my collision. Yep, there we go. And there you can see that I have really highly detailed meshes inside there, and it's a little bit slow to render now. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to keep it to A, to my lowest res, and that's all I want it to do. So, and then I rename it here. I used to rename it up here, but now I'm just renaming it up here, and I'm merging it back in so they all have the separate names, sort of thing. And so now another thing I did is, as I said up here, I did this measure sum, which is just measuring the area or the volume of the current piece, and it's just transferring that area over to the, it's going to cook, isn't it? Just transferring that area over to the primitive. So if I go down here, all the way down to my new pieces here, and the transform still works as it should. I'll go down to my unpack, and if anybody else here is wondering how I did this down here, there is a video online already. Let me quickly check where it was. My history on YouTube is so much already because I just watch stuff. That's all I do all day, is just watch stuff. Is from this masterclass video. Where's my link? Right here. That's just where I just followed that, but I basically followed that tutorial here to make this high-res fracturing system. Reupload does have a better version of this in the destruction workshop, but I'm still taking that sort of thing. Like the course is finished, but I'm still going through it very slowly. So I wanted to clean up some of my attributes here. So I wanted to get rid of like the rest, the name, the class, because the name came over with the primitives. I didn't need them because I just wanted them on the points, because I'm setting them on the points anyway over here. So that name came from the original pack, so I don't need that one right now. And then what I'm doing is I'm promoting the area. I'm going to set this back so I can actually see it properly now. I'm just promoting the area from primitive to point. I don't need to be. It doesn't matter if it's an average or anything like that. It's just going to be set along there. I am then doing an attribute wrangle, and what I'm doing is I'm just fitting the area between 0 and 0.15, and I'm just making a color out of that sort of thing, so that the ones with the most area, which is this piece up here, for some reason, has a massive amount of area, like a large area like that, and the rest have slightly smaller areas. Then I'll use my scatter, and I'm making an ID there so that I know what I'm doing. So I'm just going to say create ID. It is good practice to name your wrangles, but I tend to just ignore that because none of my stuff that I send over is there. Somebody said that they joined in one of the chats, but they were too late. You're not too late. I actually started this last night, but I didn't make this public to everybody because I didn't have permission from Saber then to make it complete public. But now it is public, sort of thing. So this is my workflow. I'm transforming them. I'm blasting out. Oh wait, this is just a visualization. I don't need to have this here. I really hope I didn't cache that out with a blast on it. That would be really stupid of me, wouldn't it? Because that took quite a while. I'm still on that. I did cache it out with just that. Oh, I'm such an idiot. It's going to take a long time to go back on. Anyway, so I've got the transform pieces here. I'll remove that blast for now. Doing an attribute wrangle, and I'm removing the points from the color here. I should be removing. Yep, I'm removing the slow points like I did before. I'm then trailing that along, adding them together, and resampling that line. And one thing I did change here is I am changing my point scale based on the color. And what that does is it has a nice effect on my sweep node, so that it changes the width per line, so that if it's following a smaller piece, it doesn't have this massive dust trail coming from it. And that's taken quite a while. That's not good. go. I could probably do away with the colour because I don't think I don't need the colour anymore at all. And it is making quite a ton of polygons here, as you can see, which is not overtly ideal, I guess. Some of these are tiny, but this is just how I do my method. So I'm going to go back to my attribute wrangler here. I'm going back to my resample, sorry. Here. And I'm just going to get rid of the attributes I don't need, which is going to be I don't need my normal. Wait, no, I do need my normal because I'm setting my normal to my velocity. So I do need my normal. What I don't want though is I don't want my colour, because it seems to be just copying colours over that are not needed. And I no longer need the ramp really, because I'm just blasting the ramp anyway afterwards. So then I don't need the ramp, so I'm just going to get rid of that. What else do I need? I don't need the name. I don't need the name old anymore. I don't need the ID. So I'm going to get rid of the ID. I'm going to get rid of the area as well, because I don't need the area anymore. Name old. Ideally, I could probably just do away with I could just go star, and then I can say, oh, I do want the velocity, I do want the normal, and I do want the p-scale. So I'm pretty sure that's all I wanted from there. Yep, that's all I wanted. And then I just hide the velocity and I save it out. And I'm really annoyed now because I now have to recache that out. It's going to take a long time. But a quick example of how I cache it out so that it doesn't overdo this, I suppose. And I posted this in the general, was it the general chat or the tools chat? Because some confused pixels was going on about deadline and stuff like that, and I have my own method of just doing like a simple submit render basically. So what I'm going to do is I've got my Houdini batch method up here. I just set the directory to I just point to my Houdini directory, which is under program files, side effects, Houdini version, number, and bin. I then set the file that I want to calculate. I also set the render path, which for me, so I'm under obj main sim, it's going to be volume main cache. So I'm going to copy that name. And then I have to select render as well, because if I dive inside here, we've got like a little render node. And then what I do is I go and I boot up HBatch here with the following commands. I read in the hip file, which is here. So I basically what I do is I cd down to, so I make the command line go to the directory of Houdini. I then start HBatch. You could use what else is there? You've got HBatch. You've got another one. I can't remember what it's called. Side effects, D, bin. It's got HBatch, another one. I think it's like HScript. HScript. You've got HScript and HBatch that you can use. I use HBatch, it's easier. I then say just render with the base out for my rock path. I then make sure that I have to read in, have to do a memory read of my hip file as well. And I render that out. So I've set up to be the volume cache render here now. I'm going to go down to, where is my cache files? Cache, here we go. And it's the volume main here. And that really should have twigged me, the fact that it was just so small. I'm going to delete the entire thing. And then I'm going to close that. I'm going to start that up again. And that's going to take a lovely little while. Are there any questions? How is everyone doing? Warzone? When was that? Hang on, Warzone. That does... Oh, you mean the Call of Duty one? Because if so, then yes, kind of. Not very good at it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoyed the new campaign, mainly. I'm more of a single player person, but I do like multiplayer at times. Bit annoyed at who is it? Is it Activision or Infinity Ward, or are they the same? Yeah. Either way, I don't like the fact that they've limited the remastering of MW2 to PS4 for like a month, because that was like my favourite game from a long time ago. And I don't think I can play it because my memory consumption is massive. Yeah, I mean, like, I think my first introduction to it was, how old was I? I was young, but my cousin was playing the first Modern Warfare, and he got Modern Warfare 2 like a year or two later, and I managed to get a copy of that from him. Except I think he had pirated it because it was missing the very first level file, and I spent like 4 or 5 days just searching on the internet. And this is back when, like, you know, $60 a month would give you maybe 500 megabytes. I found that one small package file which had that one campaign in it, that first level. Oh, so overjoyed because I could then play it. That's taking a long time. I don't want to leave people hanging though, so just sitting here watching that crawl along. So, does anyone have any requests? That sounds so weird saying that. It's going to be really weird because I don't know if Twitch is saving the stream chat, so that people, when they rewatch this, they're going to see the stream chat. So, what do you mean by see Discord? There's nothing on Discord here currently, and I'm a member of a lot of things. Maybe not many things. There's like a way. Oops, sorry. There is a way so that people can like see the chat, but I don't want it interfering with, say. Okay, so it does. Just made sure that it does. Oh. Right. Yeah. Okay. For those, I think there's like other people other in this chat. There's 3 people in this chat. So Julio was asking about how, like, he has a specific file here, and he's not getting the same results as Saber. So I've just asked him to give me the file, and I'll quickly go through that. And if anybody has something similar as well, I'm open to that, because I tend to stay up to about 4 AM doing these streams, it seems. So the explosion you're showing me looks pretty good already. Anybody else who wants to see it? Yeah, that's pretty good from what I can tell. You know, it's exploding. It may be the whole thing is disintegrating incredibly fast, but that's about it. That's the only thing, really. It's a little similar to, I think, Stephen Nipping's one. It's still at like 17.5 sort of thing. It's still chugging through that one frame. That's the geometry it's trying to do. That's really annoying. So what video are you referring to about like the angled explosion there, Julio? Because oh gosh, that is so slow. So I'm not quite sure. What do you mean by the angled explosion? Oh, so you want more of like a so yours is going straight out. You want more, and you want more of yours to be angled. So I think I get what you mean then. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. I see. So what Julio is asking is, I think, is that he wants his more. Why do you send like one video file in Google Drive, then you send the other one like that? It's a little weird. So that looks. So you've got a few sub-stepping issues, which is pretty hard to fix at times. I think we've been over that before, like the sub-stepping issues. But okay, so you want more. So you want, instead of it going, why is that slow? The sun. So instead of it just going straight outwardly, you want it to more like a more of a spherical explosion, and you want your debris source to be more following what Saber had, basically. I might have to go into this and fix a few issues here, because that is pretty poor for it to be running like the same frame for so long. I am going to quickly just try and fix this file here, because if I don't fix it now, then, and the reason it's suffering is because of my area thing I did, I believe. It could be that I'm scattering too many points, so I'm gonna halve that, really. I don't need so many points. What would be probably nice is if, say, like I do. So I'm doing an ad along there. I'm also doing a trail. Let me think. I do want to do the trail, but what I could do is I could then do connect the various pieces. So Julia, just send through your files and I'll take a look at them while I'm doing this. So that's going to go crazy all of a sudden. And it's connecting the wrong pieces. So I want adjacent points. And there's probably easier ways of doing it. And then I connect adjacent pieces. Yeah, there is easier ways of doing it. So what I will do is I'll stop that for now. Press escape. Thank you. So before the trail, what I will do is I will do like a. Now I don't know how well this will end up, sort of thing, because it could result in some flickering issues. Oh, come on. I'm going to blast out a few pieces here. So I'm going to go select. I want to select all these, just so that it's easier on my eyes. I'm going to make this background to be dark. And it's saving. So let me think. I want to do another attribute wrangle where I basically go and say, hey, are you close to me? Wait, no, I need it after this point here. So this one is remove slow. Don't know why it all of a sudden didn't like. I was using explicit class and stuff like that. That's fine, because the color is like a vertex. So I could just say .x like that, and then it would remove it, and it would remain the same. So I'm going to do another point cloud. So int PC equals PC open which is going into the very first input of P at P of channel float of radius of the channel integer of max points, and then I'm going to say int P because I want to get the position. No. Yes, maybe. I want to get the point number, but what I want to do, that is going to remain something else for now. So I'm going to say P is going to get the PC filter of PC of the current position. So then I'm just going to activate this, and I'm just going to make this a little bigger. I'm going to change this up to about 10. And then what I want to do is I'm going to load in the color on here, and I'm going to say random from my ID. So I'm going to make an attribute called my ID. I'm going to say I'm going to make a point number sort of thing. Let me think. Before I do that, I'm going to say, hey, make my group. I can't actually just say group because then it will actually make a group. So I'm going to say group as in like a GRP of ID, and I'm going to say -1, so that I know every single point here now has an ID of -1, sort of thing. Then I'm going to say for int I plus I equals 0, and what I do want to do, I could use a while loop here, which I did, I think. Oh, I heard a really low hum there from my computer. That's not a welcome sign. I had a while loop around here somewhere, but I can't find it. Okay, there's the while loop is a figment of my imagination then. And I'm going to say int is less than PC, I suppose? No, it should be. So I want to say the len of PC. No, len is getting the how many points there are in it. So I actually do want to do a PC iterate. So I'm going to say while PC iterate on PC. Then I'm going to say if the hit save. If the attribute of my of group ID, which it's just going to keep it as a float. Don't need to really. Yes, that is not equal to -1. Then is equal to -1. Sorry, because I'm wanting to do over the ones that haven't been added to a group. I'm going to say I'm going to make a new group. So my int of group group main is going to be at current point number. I'm just going to do a random of at current point number, and that's actually going to give me a float. My bad. So I'm going to fit that range. Fit range. Like, it'd be nice if I could just do it iteratively, but I don't seem I can be able to, because that should give me a float. So I'm going to say float or group main sort of thing. I could just, as I said, fit range it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to make this an F, so that it's not like that. I'm going to make sure that this is also an F, so float, I mean. And then I'm going to say my group, my F at group ID is equal to group main, like so. And it's going to give all different numbers. However, what I then want to do is I want to say set point attribute of Let me see here. So that's again not going to work. So I want to figure out how to iterate over each point. So iterate over each point. So I want, let's see, PC open sort of thing, and I'm just googling like this thing. I don't want PC open. PC open is what I've already got. So PC filter is going to give me the the ones inside it. What I do want to have is more of like a, what's PC close to? No, that's just going to close it. So I want to get the list of points that are near me, so I can then iterate over them. Sort of thing. PC find returns a list of points within the location. Yep, that's the one I want. My bad. So I'm going to get rid of the P here. I'm going to say PC find. It's going to return a. It's going to error out because I need to return a. Well, for starters, it's going to error because of that. But I need to. It's returning an array. I put the array down wrong. So the array goes at the front of the name, not there. And then what I want to do is I want to say for. I'm going to use a for loop. So actually no, I can just use a for each. No, I'm going to use a for because for then I can just get what I want. I believe. So for int I equals 0. I is less than the length of PC. And I++. So then I'm going to be doing a loop over each one. I'm then going to say, hey, for each one of that, I'm going to say get the group main of that, set for that, and then again the group main there. I'm going to set the point attribute of 0. It's going to be the group ID. The number is going to be I, and again I forgot to do the double I there. I'm going to set it to group main, and I want to set it. And now some values theoretically should be the same. But just bump that up maybe. They are not. None of them are the same. That's really annoying. Well, I thought that would have worked, but it doesn't seem to be working. Let's take a look here. I could, instead of doing it like this, I could just go, I could do a for each instead. So for each int, so I want the point, which is just going to point, and I'm using the PC. And yes, I want you to be the point. Still not really working. Basically what I wanted it to do was change each value to be a separate colour, and that should be in group ID. So some of these have the same colour. Nope, that's just random. Does it need to be a detail? I really doubt it. No, it should be points and it's not working. Does anybody know why it's not working? Because that is very, very annoying why it's not working. Could try another method. Like, it clearly is trying to work. It's trying to do something. But it's not enough, it would seem. Oh well. That's fair. Because I basically wanted to make it so that I could just group each one with like a set ID, and then I could just mesh them together. Because then it would be a lot easier. But I don't know why that's not working. That would normally work. Well, okay, let's try and just mesh it now, then. Because I just want to make it like a little blob. I could... Yep, that's very annoying. Yeah, it's rather strange how it's not... Alright, where's point drop? Hey you, yes you, yes we go. Okay, PC open, PC open, PC, let's see, find, let's go find radius, let's just do a find radius, no, because it's going to be like a scale, a PC find, because then I don't need to indicate like an actual search radius. So PC find, first input, point group, whatever, current position is going to be hue. And then what I want to do is that's going to give me an int, and I want to go PC filter, I believe. Nope. Nope. What goes out to PC find? So PC point cloud import. So I want to match up int A and int together. So PC, let's take a look. Iterate. That's still an int A. Let's take a look at this then. PC find. I'm just googling it again. Brilliant, it's not actually telling me anything. There was a specific node that you use, PC something. Cloud export. Nope. I shall get it soon. One day. No, that's point cloud open again. I've done that one. Nope. Okay, I did that one as well. I did that one as well. Far out. There was one that you go out to. Anyway, do we have like a near point? We do have a near point, which is just a near point, unfortunately, but it's going to give me like the wrong thing. That's still going to give me like a PC find. That's really annoying because there's no real thing online which is telling me how to handle it. Okay, that's fine. I don't need to do you anyway, because it's giving me the current point and it's giving me the what variable it is. It should be. That's what it should be doing. That's not it. That wouldn't be it. Whatever. Step point cloud open. PC open. File is going to be file is the first input. That's the channel there. Yes, you already do that. Yep. Okay. How do I do it up here? I was like, oh yeah, for each of these. Do we have a for each? We do have a for each, but I hate the for each. So I'm going to say PC filter, and then I'm going to say, hey, better yet, length. If I can just get the length. No, that's not it. Len. Amount. Count. Point count. Are you the only one that can? No, you can't. Okay, point count. So that should give me like, that wouldn't give me the amount of points, would it? Basically, I just want to find like array find index. How's that? Float A. Oh, I found something then. Oh, I suppose I could get, like I'm getting that now, which is just getting the array element, but it's not exactly what I want. Alright, well, I'll come back to this, because Julio has given me his file. I'm just going to quickly move it to a better spot while I open it. That is still so annoying why it's not working. I'm going to be kept up all night trying to figure out why the hell that's not working. Oh, would you look at that bloody thing? There we kind of go. I can make that even bigger. No, I can't. I want to make this about 200 sort of thing. Is that why I wasn't working? Okay, well, it's not going to work great, sort of thing. So I'm going to keep this kind of small because I'm making sure I don't get like this horrible clump. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm going to realise it's not going to really work, sort of thing. And I've just lost all of that. There you are. Plus, it's going to change. As you can see, it's changing as it goes, which is not ideal, sort of thing. So I'm going to probably get rid of my P-scale, and I'm just going to make this a bit smaller, so about 3.5 like that. And I'm even going to turn down the resample just a touch, so that when I sweep, it's going a little bit faster, and it still has that issue where it's like not as big. So if I re-enable the P-scale sort of thing, then that comes back, but it's nice and fast. But that's because I've got the blast here. Like normally I would section it off. Anyway, my computer's going really slowly. It's because it's trying to calculate that. If I just cancel that quickly, and if I do remove P-scale, I think it was like historically faster. How's my memory consumption? Memory ain't too bad, but you have frozen. Okay, let's jump over to this file. Whereabouts am I looking exactly? Why are these behind? I'm not gonna dare try and pronounce that. Yep, so that's dying inside. Well, it really shouldn't be. So where's my trail? I just want to see what the hell is wrong. RBD. Okay, so Julia said it was in RBD. Oh, like, yeah, it's this. Where is it? Come on. This is just too slow, so it's probably just gonna crash in a second. Come on, just stop. Leave me, let my misery alone. I'll have to continue this tomorrow night. I'd say this thing, because it's. Oh, come on, now what are you trying to do? There we go. And you look relatively nice. As you can see, it's grouping all these, but they're grouping them wrong. What I would normally do is I'd probably I would group all those under the same name, I believe. So everything that had the same name I would group, and then I would just say, yep, you're just one big trail, which is probably what I will do later on. But I'm going to close this for now, because I want to focus on this file. And I need to figure out where the... Why is it so slow? I need to figure out where the RBD is. Building RBD? I'm going to assume it's building RBD. It is? It is. Oh, that lighting is majestic. I'm going to turn it off. So let's take a look at the notes. I've done some of his clip note. He inputted the basic geo and made it larger in Y. Clip notes and show some. I don't understand what he did. So convexing it to show Y. Clipping it. No, RBD smoke trail. My bad. Where is that? RBD smoke trail. Here. This one? That can't be it. Oh, where is it? Oh, there it is. There we go. I found it in the end. Ah, looks brilliant. So, did you lock this one? You did. Cool. Okay. I did something wrong there. Why are you taking so long? Oh, you're cutting up. Okay, I see. How much did you cut this up? This is long. Is it, or is it just my PC that's bad? Like my, it's really in need of an upgrade, this computer nowadays, but I just don't have any money. Okay, yes, you cancelled. Stop saving. Alright, what did you lock? Because I'm just going to go around and unlock them all. If I can. It'll just save me a bit of space. So you you're assembling it. Do you save it out anywhere that I can use? So I take it that all. Oh gosh, it's so hard to say. Alright. They're all being merged into this one piece here, is that right? Okay. Also pointing out and eliminating a group. Okay. And where's the .NET? Oh, you're going right into there. Okay, I see. I am going to. So where is your velocity that you're pointing out? There's your velocity there. There's your you're assembling it all in. What's this doing? It's making a constraint. So I am going to make a file cache here. I'm going to save out what you have. I don't really care what it's called. So I'm going to call it building fractured. And load from disk. I'm going to hit save one more time, and then I'm going to start going around and just unlocking the file so that's a bit faster to save. And that is going to here. What's in my F folder? Oh, that. So I've got, how many drives have I got? I have that many drives. I got about, how many is that? It's about 6. It's 7. I'm sorry. And they're all basically filled, mostly with junk. Like I think this one holds my game. No, this one holds my games because that's my SSD. This one holds tutorials. This one holds all my backups. These two hold some caches. this one holds some caches and stuff like that. So, not to mention movies and TV shows. But apart from that, yeah, it's I do need to upgrade my computer soon. Taking so long. Why did you convex your building? That seems a little strange to me. At the start, you put down a facet node and you set the primitives to be convexed. Why did you do that? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't remember why Saber did that. What would that be from? It crashed my drive. Is that in part of the effects mastering course? Is it the effects intro course? It would be. So we've gone. No, that's talking about that. So I think it's like week 5 that he was starting talking about destruction. What week was that on? Week 5, something like Geo Prep, I believe it is, possibly. So this one, where he's going through like that. So I think the only reason he convexes it is because he wants to make it into wood. Which, as a building, you don't use wood for the building you've got. You've got like a commercialized building, so you have concrete structures, you have wiring inside the structures, you have stuff like that. So if you took a look at like how so like if you take a look at like the interior sort of thing, like this is not the wrong, it's like the wrong one. So this is mainly wood, unfortunately, but like you got like those massive either round or square pipes that are in the center, like kind of like that, but they're concrete. It's got the concrete piping. Let's see if I can see it. The reason I keep like making my web browser over to the other side is because I've seen quite a few of my friends type in something and then just because the internet's the internet, it shows up something that you don't really want to see. Yep, it's not showing me anything that I'm actually wanting to see. I've no idea what they're called too, so I can't really Google it. Reinforced concrete? So there we go, I found it, there we go. Version happening. I wasn't caching out all those frames. I was just caching out the one. But you had like so many different things going on inside that one thing that I had to cache that entire thing there. But what I was talking about was like this sort of thing. So you've got like the wire. There we go. Spend more. You've got like the wiring. You got the pipes in here, like metal rods, sort of thing, for the concrete. And if you want to be really realistic, you have to model and fracture and do all that, which basically sets apart. So you got like stuff like this. It sets apart. I believe it comes down to it depends on what. From what I've heard, it comes down to what studio you use, but it depends on if it goes to like the modeling team or if it goes to the destruction team. Because I know, for example, that inside the using a point bob here, and you are colouring what you want to do. Is that right? Where's that point? It's right there. Hang on a minute. So like for Weta Digital, when they have that very impressive muscle system that they're showing off all the time. I've forgotten what the name is called. And they show like the character animating, and it animates skin like there's a muscle inside it. The people who model the bones and the muscles and all the little muscles stuff like that for Weta Digital is the people who simulate that. So the people who simulate it have to model the bones inside the character, have to model and they have to be realistic too, and they have to model the muscles before they can even begin simulating any of that. Which, personally, I thought they would have fallen under, say, like the character modeler department, but apparently it does not. So what are you doing? What's this mask? What's the mask from? Oh, you're bringing in the mask, right? Nice mask. Multiply, and you're putting that at the velocity. So let's take a look at the velocity then. And this is packed. It is packed. It is not packed. What the heck have you done here? So you've got some pieces that are packed and some that aren't. That's a bit confusing. Well, they're New Zealand, you know. My brothers, I suppose, because I'm Australian, but I think the person who was telling me about this was Australian anyway, so I think who was his name? Che. Let's take a look. So why do I have packed fragments and then I don't have packed fragments? That's an issue there. So how do I just, if I go add, I just delete everything. What part of this is packed? What part of this is not packed? Because you're bringing in packed geometry, but you're not. Let's take a look. This ain't packed. I don't even know what that's doing. Like, it's a little, like this far, it's a little messy, I have to admit. Just from what I can see, it's not as bad as other people's I've ever seen. But I am just going to tidy it up just a little bit. So I am going to see what you are doing here. This is the wall back. What's this one? That's your front. Wall back. You're convexing it weirdly. Again, don't know why. You're clipping the floor. Oh, I see. Yep, okay. Except now you've got that issue. So if I'm just going to duplicate this so I don't mess up your node. Why is that not sitting on there perfectly? That's annoying me. And you're fusing it, but you're not actually. Oh, that did something there. You're fusing it, but it's not actually going to fuse because it's not correct. So I'm going to turn off this divide. Maybe I should have put on the divide. Hang on, why? So the clip. What is that clip doing? Oh yeah, it's clipping from there. So, hang on. You don't have any. How did you model this? Was this with like a Boolean sort of setup? Because this looks kind of like a Boolean setup. What you've got here. Saber gave you. Oh, of course he did. Saber, why do you do this to me? Don't know why it's done that, but yep, okay, I can see why you're dividing it now, because otherwise you're just going to get rid of the entire thing. However, the issues arising here because you've got independent geometry, but I'm going to ignore that for now because I did last time. Oh yeah, I accidentally hit something and it's starting to cook. My main issue here though is that you've got nodes that are not like they're like you're packing some fragments and why aren't you cancelling? Man, you take forever to cancel. You're packing something but you're leaving things in there as well that are not packed, which is really going to mess up anything you're doing, and I don't know how to isolate the packed geometry. Yes. So they all have a name except the name. You've got so you've got 615. No wait, so you're getting a mismatch here all over the place. You've got a primitive attribute of name of 6,000. That's not going to match the 95,000 fragments that you have, which should all have your own unique name. You've also got a name on the points, which is 18,000, but that still doesn't match the 95,000. Okay, let's try and go through this then. So if I go back to this divide right here, I am Saber, if you're watching, not happy with this model. Not happy at all. I am very, very unhappy with your model. Also, why is you clipping? Oh, are you making it taller? Are you making it taller? Technically making it taller. Not happy with your model, Saber. You and I need to talk. Alright. I'm going to quickly model this because this is just bugging me so much. So how big is this overall? It's exactly a grid. It didn't even do that. Okay, it's not quite a grid because he's doing it from the inside and out sort of thing. Oh my word. Okay, so I'm going to turn this down to about 2 by 2. I am then going to say, hey, Macarena, stop saving. How would I put in the windows? Let's take a look at the points here. I want to put, say, 2 points here, 2 points there, 2 points there, 2 points there. So, if I'm just going to convert line. Actually, I'm just going to make a line to start out with, because lines are so much easier to work with when you're dealing with this sort of thing. So I'm going to go to the middle. I'm going to go to the Z axis. I'm going to get the length. I'm going to paste in here. I'm going to times it by 0.5, so it's in the middle. And negate that, so it's actually in the middle. Then I'm going to put this about to 10. So it's exactly the same as the other one. Now I'm going to save it. And it's going to take forever because I forgot. That takes a long time to save. And then what I want to do is so if I do a resample node here, this is probably a bad idea. But if I do a resample, I can then just say, hey, give me attribute wrangle. I'm going to get the floats of point. Point ramp, so floats of pt num divided by floats of at num pt minus 1. Let's give me the ramp. I then want to say, hey, let's say floats of ramp equals tramp of ramp by ptr, and it's saving again. I don't know why it's saving. I'm going to activate that. I then want to say, hey, at p dot y is equal to lerp between the current at p dot y and whatever height I want, and it's going to be driven by the ramp. There you go. End up with that. So now we're getting that. I am going to change this from linear to constant. I think I want constant. Yep, I want constant. Sort of thing like that. And it's not going to make it like exact, which is kind of annoying. But what I will do is I will do a quick trick there. So a window on each side. Oh, good man. What was this one here like? So we had like 2 windows, 3 windows here, and a massive big archway. So I'm going to open. It's saving again. Why does it keep saving? I'm going to make my archway. I'm going to go down to the front. This front here. And yep, that's good on that side. I'm going to point it to that point there. I'm just eyeballing this too, so that's going to be this point. This one wants to be, whoops, wants to be a full on 1 sort of thing. For now, I'm just trying to identify the points that I need, and I'm just using this as an example. That. That works. Like that. These are not going to be exact, it seems, which is going to annoy some people. I could probably do that exactly, but right now I'm not too fussed. Oh my word, stop saving. on this side. Man, it's not. I normally would do like do a bit better than that, but for now this is good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to you saved again. I'm going to put in a facet, and I want to just blast away all the points that aren't aligned with inline points like that. So now I get something similar to this. Then what I want to do is I want to blast something. That's right. So once I've blasted that sort of thing, and I know that I'm just going to be in the Z point, I am going to say, hey, where's my next point? So, and I'm going to use like a modulo sort of thing. So, it's going to be, I'm going to have to figure out what the modulo is, but I want to set the Z to, so if this is point, go to the start, have that. So 0, 1, so number 2 wants to be set to the same Z axis as 1, 3 wants to be set to the same Z axis as 4. Like that. So, and then I can even adjust those themselves, I hope. So, how would I do this? So, if at point num modulo 2 is equal to 1, I think that's how it goes. Then I'm just going to colour this just so I can see. So yes, it is technically doing what I want it to do. So I'm going to modulate that, and I'm going to say if the attribute of p.y is not equal 0, then I'm going to colour all the top ones. I'm going to then say at the attribute at p.z is going to equal to the point of 0 p. That's not going to be right, so I'm going to say vector. I'm going to get the vector p here, so I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to say p.z like that. Saving again. And I want to get the attribute point number plus, it's going to either be +1 or -1. And I forgot to add a few things here. So it's not, it is, no, that is working. Cool. And then I want to do it for the other side. So I'm going to say else -1. And there we go. Now we have something that looks a little weird. And I am going to just fix up my window here. The window, you know, you can change the window width and stuff, sort of thing. So I'm going to just quickly change my window width here and there. This is a bit of procedure modeling, I suppose. It literally is. So, and it's saving again. Oh my word! Nope, wrong one. I want the other one. Like that. There we go. Okay. And now, what I can do with that is, let's take a look here. So I want to get the length of each line, basically, and I'm going to say I want to get the max attribute and figure out which one has the highest, the longest thing to that, and then I want to raise that up, if that makes sense. So, for starters, I want to lower this right down. So that's going to be the base of where the window 1 starts, sort of thing. I also need to, what I need to do is I now need to disconnect all these numbers. So I'm going to say add attribute like that. I'm going to say delete the geometry, so that I just have the points. I'm going to turn off that so I can just see my points, make that black so it's a bit easier to see. I'm going to go over to this side because then we can see from like 0, which I prefer to do. And we're getting a few issues, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, we're getting the right ones. Okay. So, what I want to do then is I want to you know what I just realised? I realised I didn't need to do all this. I suppose it kind of helps, but I will try and figure something out here so that I don't even need to make all these new points. But I'm saving like the height sort of thing. So this position is getting the +1, which was this one. So what I now need to do is I need to set the attributes. So set point attribute. I want to set on 0. I'm going to call it I want to set it to be the ID. It's either going to be 0 or 1. I'm going to say for the current at ptnum +1. I'm going to put it to, it's going to be 0. It's a bit dangerous, so I'm going to put the 2. So if it's one side it's 2, if it's the other side it's 1. If it's nothing, it's 0. And then I'm going to say set. Then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Do this to equal 1, and it's going to be negative, like that. And then I'm going to remove this. Then what I need to do is I can just duplicate this. I can just say, hey, attribute wrangle for so what I can do is say add point 0, and I can say at p sort of thing, and it's going to add a point exactly on top of each one like that. But I want to add it to like a certain amount height sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say vector p is going to be just going to get the at p like that. Then I can say vector p dot y equals something else, like so. Can I not? I can. Cool. Then I just say p. Now I can raise that up, like so. And what I'm going to do then is I want to make these like a square sort of thing. So what I will do is I'm going to say, hey, get the if hang on. So I need to do two things. I need to set the point attribute here first, and I also need to set the point attribute, so ID p. So ID p, sort of thing. There's going to be the actual one I want to connect to, and it's going to be the current point number. That's what I want to set it to. It'll make sense in a second, I promise. Okay. And I need to make sure so that everything else, sort of thing. So I need to say IDP. So IDP equals 0, and I at, oh wait, no, I want this to be -1, and I at ID equals 0, -1 as well, or 0. I can just say 0 because I said from 1, 2, and then 0 would be anything. What I can then do is in this attribute wrangle and it's saving once more. I suppose it's good that it saves, but it's really annoying. Now what I want to do is I want to say, hey, for each one I want to make a square, sort of thing. I didn't really need to do this ID, I suppose, now that I think about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I need to add a first of all, to make a polygon sort of thing, I need to add. So if I say, yeah, so what I can do here is instead of this stupid thing, right, I don't need this here. I'm going to say the at new ID, which is going to be my I, is going to be my current at point number at ptnum. So I really missed the fact that I can just press Alt A. I'm going to add a point. I'm going to make sure I save that point number into PT equals there. I'm then going to say set point attrib. So then it's going to have the same point number as it is. So I know where I am. So I'm going to say 0, new ID, the point number, and I'm going to set that. Then I'm going to make another attribute wrangle, and now I'm going to start going through and I may have to do it in, say, like a detail, possibly. And I need to run it over each primitive. So what I need to do just to start out so that I can visualize it and show you guys. Let's take a look. So what I need to do is I need to add a primitive, and then I need to add a point to it, that sort of thing. And normally you would used to have like add the vertices and stuff like that, but I don't need that. It'll add it automatically for me. So I'm going to say int p for PRM for primitive number, so that if I need to change it, I can. So I'm going to say add prim 0, and I need to figure out what type I need to use. I can use a polyline, or tetrahedron. So I'm going to say poly. I then need to say what point I want to use. So if I say 0, 1, and 2, then realistically it would start making a line. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. I don't need that one, so I'm going to say 0, 1. I'm going to say 10. Trying to get like a be able to show you. It's kind of annoying. It's not showing. There it is. And I want 16, like that. That was 18 too. Sorry. And it looks like it's. Is it adding a number? So 16, 15. It should not be adding another primitive sort of thing. So that was 16. I want to go to 17. No, it shouldn't be adding up another number. Did look like it for a second. So how can I make that a bit more procedural? So I'm going to say I want to do this for each, and I normally would just do it for like that, if that makes sense. So what I need to do is I need to say for the current point number, so I am going to go over to, which one do I want? I want to go to here, because that's getting me that. I need to figure out how to get the number of points from the other side. So, and I'm just googling quickly how to do this. So apparently I can use something called endpoints. So I'm going to say int. So this is going to be my JJ sort of thing. Is going to be the endpoints of second input. I'm going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than JJ, and I plus plus. So I'm iterating over all those. They're going to go inside there. I want to say, hey, do it for the IIs, like that. And it's saving once again. So now, technically, I should have several primitives. I have like 16 primitives, which is exactly what I want, almost. So I'm connecting it from every single one to 1 and 17 again, so I don't want that. So I want to then say II plus 1. Or better yet, what I could say is I want to get the here. What I want to get is I want to get the find. I want to say find attribute val. So I'm going to say find attribute val, and I've forgotten how you use that. Oh, here we go. Geometry string attribute class string attribute name. That's not really helping me, so I'm just going to Google it so I can actually get the one from the documentation. How many people are in here? It's still free. That's pretty cool. So what I need to do is I want to say find attribute val. It's going to be 0. My first input is going to be the point attribute. What else? I need the attribute name and the value. So the attribute name is going to be new ID. And I want to match it to the new ID. Like that. And I need to cover these in quotations. I also need to say int AA. Oh, I should just say PT, so for point sort of thing. So instead of this II, I want to connect it between. So instead of this 2 as well, we're just going to get a polyline. And I can just say polyline instead of a poly. My throat's getting a bit sore. So instead of II, and this, let's be saying it's asking what this actually is. I'm going to say get the point. But I don't want the first point. So it should be giving me the second one. So I want to say of the second one. How do you get the second one? So I'm going to say if pt equals does not equal my current point number. Oh wait, my current point number, because I just set it to point number, I suppose. What that should be doing. What if it does? What happens then? Nothing. Oh wait, no. I don't want it to equal point that one. I wanted to make sure it's not 0. Sort of thing. And then, because this is giving me like a... Oh, why aren't you working now? Oh, right, yeah. So that was working. Then I want to do so for each int pts point. Then I want to say, hey, if the current pt does not equal what the heck this is equal 0. So the problem is it's trying to get that. I want to get. So if I say it's equal to 0, why is it saying it doesn't like this? Oh, right, okay, so I want to say PTS. There we go. Ah. That's kind of working. There, it's not working exactly how I want it to, though. I believe it should be working. Let's take a look. See, we've got new ID, sort of thing, new ID, and new ID. I want to get the second thing, so I don't want to do like for each this sort of thing like that. I want to get the value as well. I don't think it's giving me the value. There is like a specific trick. So I then need to say, so this is giving me my current iteration. I then want to say int of current point. Like so. Current point, current point. And it's still not quite working because it's still just going to the 0, to that 17 there. Oh, but it is no, it should be working. How do I get the first one? Sort of thing. Does anybody know? Technically, I don't even need to do this for each sort of thing. I should just be able to just say, oh yeah, you just get the current point. So point 0 like that. Or point 1. So yes, it was working, but it's not working correctly. So I said for each one of these. Let's get the first input. No. Normally I would just go over the points and then it kind of works. But that's because it's going for each. So if I take out the for each there, then I'm not going to get this. So let's say none. Then, oh gosh. Then it actually does flip the work. I hate how it does that sometimes. It just works. And it's so annoying. Okay. Loser. Rubbish. Piece of filth. I don't know. I hate how it does this. Now I need to get the second one. So I then need to say, I want to say the at point number +1. Now I'm also going to say poly. saving. So now we're seeing something kind of groovy here, where it's looping back on itself. We won't worry about that for now. That's because it's what I want to do is I want to not do it for the last point. Just going to say if at pt num is not equal at num pt minus 1, then do all this. So how come I'm just still not quite working? It's still not quite working for some reason. If I disable this, then we get that, and that's not actually connecting to anything else. I really wish it would stop saving so much. Let's go to my preferences and change that. Right, how often do you save? Save every 8 minutes, please. Right. What should next be along the line is like, oh yeah, the at pt num be the minus 1, which is now working, annoyingly. But there's no minus 1 for that one, so that was fine. And I need to get that point number as well. So what I now need to do is I now need to say, hey, get int, what can I call this? Second ID is going to be 0.0 at pt uid of at pt num minus 1. And then I need to do this whole thing again here, like that. And I'm going to say pt. I'm going to call this ptb, pta, and I want to be finding u, and then I can say ptb for 1. Oh, look at it's just so majestic. I think it's because I'm doing it the wrong way around. I think PTB needs to be first here. Like so. There we go. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to make sure there's nothing interpenetrating. There is something interpenetrating, which is that last one. Rather annoying, so I now need to remove that primitive, I believe. So don't know why it's doing that. There's probably just a bit of error in my code. If I blast it, then nothing is changing. I don't want to hard value it, so the number of the number of points on the second input. Right. If okay, so there we go. If at pt num equals jj sort of thing, then I don't want it to do that. It's not going to work anymore because I did that wrong. I want it to be not equals to jj sort of thing, and now it's working. Now I should have that 31 primitive. Yeah, I do. There we go. Okay. So what I've done here is I've just set it up so that I can now keep extruding it up. If that makes sense. I could technically have just gone and done an extrude here. But this way I now have a little bit more control of what I've done. That's probably just a really roundabout method, I'm sorry. But really, I really do want to get back to this thing here because can you tell me what is packed and what isn't? So you're creating a name here. And this name now has and you don't tell me you're packing it again. You do pack it again. So on top of the packed primitives you have here, you now have another set of packed primitives. How can I isolate the packed primitives? Isolate packed primitives. I'm just going to unpack it because you don't need to have that packed if you're packing it later on. Was that the glass? I hit the wrong one. Did pack the glass. So where's your glass? You're packing it there. What about up here? So you got bad naming for starters, because you got glass there. And you don't want to double pack them. You're packing it here. You are packing it here. What is this one from? That's the glass again. Where's this one from? What the heck? Why are you packing this? Don't. Because you don't need to pack them if you're just going to pack them later. Because you're going above anyway, and you're renaming everything. So now I can hit save. Now I have to resave that out. So is everybody still with me at least? It's alright. Like packing is packing the geometry up so that it's easy. So that what it does is it's faster for simulation work, and if it's the same geometry technically, then it's it's faster to render. So if I look at packs, primitives, and Houdini sort of thing, then you're going to see like it has a memory consumption thing, which is one of the more famous images here. So you know, if you've got like 8,000 polygons on a tree, and you copy that around like 5,000 times, sort of thing, then you're going to be in for a world of hurt. But when the pack primitives is basically Houdini's method of instancing in other packages, so like I think Maya and Max. What does Sim 4D have? I think Sim 4D has instancing as well. However, the reason that I'm such a stickler for naming is because when you pack it, it has each individually packed primitive, and the assemble node works great because it has something called a connectivity sub. The connectivity is going to check to make sure it's going to see like, is this polygon connected to this polygon? Is it fused together? Is it connected to this one? And it goes through all those and will make sure that it's connected, and it says, okay, this whole piece is connected, right, that's one piece, I'm going to give it its own name. And you can't just like copy like several buildings sort of thing. So if you have like a wall, you fracture it, you give it all credit, you give them all separate names, and then you copy that wall, but don't give those walls separate names to the ones that the other one has. When you come to simulate it, Houdini's not going to know which is which. It's going to get mixed up between, well, this point here has got this name, but this point has got the same name. Oh, it's the same thing. So we'll calculate it together, and then it will say, hang on, these primitives are interpenetrating each other, get them apart, and so you get like this massive, horrible explosion of geometry everywhere, which is not what you want. So, also when it comes to naming, you have to have the same. It's easier to name them for the transform pieces, because the transform pieces matches the names for each of them. So you need to figure out which is which, if that makes sense. Otherwise it's going to say, okay, there's these two pieces here with the same name, but I've got one piece in here that's got the same name. Okay, those two pieces are exactly the same, then they're going to get the same transform. And it just doesn't work. So there we go. So now this is completely unpacked. Some of these have got a name on their primitives, but we're going to overwrite that completely. I no longer need this unpack. I'm going to keep your color node, because that color's nice. This assemble node is naming them all. So now we're going to have 100,000 different separate names, sort of thing. And now you've got a point up here. And so now if we take a look at this, like they're all going to have that. With the point velocities, it's probably better to add it after you've packaged it. And you pack it down here. But you just, oh no, wait, no, you're grouping all those together and you're saying, no, these are going to be 0 velocity, okay, and let's take, okay, so it must work, I guess, but let's take a look at the velocities. So the velocity is literally just pointing out that way. So I'm going to turn off this sort of thing, and it's adding like a conical noise, as I can see. So what it's better to do, instead of adding it kind of like that, is I'm going to turn off this, I am then going to say, hey, I want to. You have an ad. You had like an ad somewhere around here, like this thing here, like that. Which you can use that as your velocity. So I'm going to go inside here, and you are using it as your velocity anyway. So I'm not seeing anything. Wait, I was. There it is. So now you're getting that. So why? So I'm going to go back to 100 there. So it's pointing outwards, which is good. It should have been adding to that. However, that add is incredibly harsh. I believe it's not adding it at all. It's just adding to, it will be adding it to from here. Like so. And I can just set that down to 100. And now it'll have that spread. That was any reason, I suppose, because it's. I'll keep incoming. That'll probably be best. Keep incoming is better. And now, let's take a look at the simulation. So I haven't used this RBD before. As you know, I tend to use the DOC network itself, and for those who don't know, this is just a wrapper. It has the DOC network inside it. Did you scale that up? Better not have. Good, you didn't. I'd be so annoyed if you did. And so you're caching it out. You're caching it out like 3 times. Well done on that front. So let's run the simulation. Oh, look at it go, so fast. Ay, it's taking forever. Don't cache it, it's heavy. Okay, well, how am I going to see it if I can't cache it? What I need to make sure it's correct, you know. I'll cache it for 40 frames. Hit save again, didn't I? And I'll just use this. So where did I put your file? Your file was right here. And there. What type is it? It's a hip NC. Where's the root path? Root path is RBD underscore smoke trail. What is this? This is file cache 8. I just completely overwrote that name. And yes, okay. So you're going to keep cache. Okay, and start. Did I set the frame right? I did. So right, if I use my computer, 45 frames is like 2 hours. Okay, so you need to figure out how to optimize it. somebody did Houdini. Somebody did one, like a something a long time ago. They made like a tool that optimized it for you. And if I can find it, I will show you. Now, how good is your computer? Like, what have you got? Yeah, that's not too bad. Is that the new Ryzen 7 or the old one? Like 2 years or something ago, I think. Like the G4, that's incredible though. Sort of thing, like it's. Yeah, there you go. That's an incredibly powerful blast, but it's done 2 frames, and it is working. So the tool that I was talking about was it doesn't even have a link. It does have a link. Is this? Is this? Oh, far out. Turn you off. That was really loud in my ear. Far out. Oh. Anyway, it's not really a simulation thing. It's basically cleaning up after. I'm pretty sure it just cleans up after it's been destroyed. So it's not really much use to you, unfortunately. But you know, it's probably a good place to take a look at, you know, because the guy spent a long time with it on making this tool, I believe. Yeah, I've no idea what year my computer is. That's going a little bit too fast. Oh, no, it is slowing down. No, it's not. You might want to just turn the speed down just a little bit, because if you're trying to cache out a how big is that cache? Hardly big at all. Because if you're trying to cache out that to say I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, my brain's just gone. I can't think. Yeah, if you're trying to simulate like a volume from that, you're going to be in for a hell of a time trying to do that. And yeah, you want. I can see why you've made a few of these things here. Though I don't know why the bullet world scale is massive. Like 5. Don't know why it's done that. Because I did read up somewhere where it's like, oh yeah, the scale, if you put it bigger, it goes faster. But I don't know why they've done that. So you've got like time scale, which is a sense of it. So the bullet world scale apparently is saying that it's like it scales it up for like tiny pieces, which is probably what you have. And that does look kind of nice. Then I can just use like a transform. Don't know why you're doing the same thing here. I can literally hear my computer simulate. It's kind of unnerving. Yeah, I'd say the velocity is a bit too big. However, if you have taken a look at buildings, they don't tend to go that far at all. I'd say for an explosion, about here is where they should be landing. Oh, you're multiplying it by 3. Here. No, you're not. Oh, up here. Somewhere. There. Okay, I see. Fair enough. Yeah. You've got a lot going on here, and it's incredibly slow. The lot of tiny pieces and stuff. Where'd you get the house from, by the way? Because I don't recall seeing that in a course. Because you said Saber gave it to you, and I don't remember seeing it. Was it in the destruction course? How do I get rid of that colour? Can't. Here we go. I mean, like, it is impressive just how much detail kind of thing there is in there. Yeah, I'll probably redo it at 1 because I'm interested to see how this goes too. So I'm going to delete all that, and it's just going to start throwing some hissy fits, I'd say, in a second. By 1. There we go. And I would love to figure out why this is so slow, because it really should not be. I believe it's... don't calculate it. And it's starting to calculate it. Brilliant. And if I go up by 1, there we go. Oh gosh, it's bigger than I remember it was. Like it's doing all this sort of thing. It's calculating all of this. You don't need that. I assume it's calculating all that. Because then it's going, oh look, here we go, we're going into the dot network now. And if we dive inside that dot network, all we can see here is we've got like the constraints and stuff like that. Interesting enough, it's getting the constraints and it's going straight into the constraint network. I mean, it's getting the packed and it's going straight into the constraint network, which is a little unusual. The point velocity is just useless? No, your point velocities that you've done is pretty good. So like, I'll start that off again. I'm just saying, like, using the bullet solver here is just adding a ton of overhang on the simulation and the caching out sort of thing. So I would recommend trying and replicating the setup inside a dot network on its own and just caching and just doing that. But I can see why you've done it, because it's easier. It's a bit of a less of a headache to try and wire up all the nodes and stuff. But yeah. Why is it taking so long just for the first frame? That's... Alright, well that does that. I'm going to go back to my little project here on the side. And yeah, I could probably just gone and done like a just a poly extrude really. That's being a bit stupid, I suppose. Then I need to figure out how. Oops. Zero. Nope. Transform up. The global for that. Transform that up. Keep existing point velocity on the point velocity. No. Like down here. So what you're doing is you're calculating the point velocity. If I take a look at it, sort of thing, you're calculating the point velocity from that one point there, which is giving you that outward force, but you're not giving it any noise as well. So this point velocity here, it's saying keep the incoming, but add to that this noise, which just helps give you a bit of noise, sort of thing. Ideally, you could just do this inside the point bob as well, but both ways are just as viable. So I need to figure out how to delete based on what is there. So I need to figure out how I group those. So I believe what I did was I said, hey, if you're an ID, you're going to be like a window. So I want to then go down to here. I'm going to say, hey, if the ID equals 1, I suppose, then whoops, it's at CD equals set, and that should just color like 1/2. It's not coloring anything. So it has an ID. None of these are the same ID. It's the same ID here, so ID equal to ID. Alright, now why? Oh, that's right, I turned off the colour, didn't I? There we go. That's a little better. That really doesn't help, does it? I've always wanted to do like a poly modelling, like a house sort of thing. The houses are like hard for me. Arches and all that sort of stuff, that's easy. I know how to do that. Got that down pat. But this, making it properly, is hard. What time is it? 4 o'clock. Yeah, I probably should go to bed then. Okay, thank you to I don't know the names in the chat, so you've got Julio. Thanks, Julio, for everything, for the file and for sticking with me for like these past 2 nights now. That's pretty cool. And I look tired. I don't have a camera on me, I hope. And thank you to whoever's still here, sort of thing. You might want to turn the velocity down a bit more as well on this. You've also got to remember the fact that so like the gravity's barely touching that. So I would turn it down a lot more than what you have. So I think you're multiplying. Come on. You are multiplying it by. I think I did actually. No, you multiply it by 100, then you're adding to that scale of 10. So turn those down, make it a bit smaller, and try not to use this. Try not to use this because you can't add things to it. Or can you? You can add drag. Never mind. Whatever I said, you can add drag. Okay, well, I reckon you should. I reckon you should try and do it in the DOP network instead of using this, because this feels a bit more of a cheating way to make at least. You've got, if you don't understand how, which is why I think you're getting the mix up with all the naming and the assemble node. If you don't understand how it works, then using these pre-built tools kind of undermines the purpose, and you really want to get an understanding of how everything works before you can, and how it works under the hood before you can do everything else. Okay, I'm gone. So thanks to everybody who joined in the chat. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow night because I need to get up early the next day, but we'll see how that goes. Yes, good night.